Hey, how you doing there, mister? I see you there. I see you there shaking that thing. Oh yeah. I see you there. I see you there shaking them things. What you doing, Mr. Mill Master? Test, test. One, two, three. Ha! 1, 2, 3. Thanks for joining me. The world of Magic the Gathering continues to confuse and amaze players. Is it an investable, a collectible? What could it be? Here we are on the weekend, bringing you folks a little bit of a weekend stream. I didn't get to see the weekly winners yesterday due to a little bit of a delay, so I'm happy to do a quick live stream this morning because I haven't even looked at the article. I got up this morning and I said, nope, I'm not going to read it by myself. I can't do that. I want to get the full experience. How's my audio this morning? Cup of coffee. Millmaster in the house. Nice to have you with us. No matter where you are, I want to thank you for coming along for the ride here this morning, whether you got me hanging next to the coffee pot, perhaps you're out in the backyard raking some leaves here this morning. It should be a good one. The recent consensus around the new game changers and the updates to the ban and the restricted list have left people shaking their heads. The prices of Magic cards continue to unsurprisingly fluctuate as Magic the Gathering players flock into a new commander build that was recently hated upon so hard. That's the topic of discussion today. So we're going to be discussing a little bit about Braids, the Cabal Minion, seeing a 2,600% price spike in the market, a card that people had played with in the past, found its way onto the ban list, and now it's back, and it's probably going to be running over formats all over the place. So buckle up, sit down, grab a coffee. Join us this morning where we talk Magic cards, prices, and what's new in the metagame. Is this going to shake up the metagame? It's going to be interesting. This will be the first weekend post bannings where cards that were recently unavailable for players now get another second birth and a second coming and a second try to make these cards viable. What do we got? Hello. All right, we got Braids Arisen Nightmare here. How's my audio, Millmaster? Just going to check the technical stuff here before we get into this one here. Braids Arisen Nightmare? No, Braids Cabal Minion. A card that's seen a 2,604% price spike. Now that this beauty is able to be played in Commander, are you playing it? Were you excited? Were you? I'm almost cringing a little bit. This mono black commander does some amazing stuff. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. This is a bit of a taxes card, or maybe a stacks card, or maybe just punishes every single person. I guess Braids can sacrifice themselves, but the damage that this does around the board is something to be discussed here this morning. The hated commander is unsurprisingly the recent announcement, including the much anticipated unbans, caused a huge stir, and not only are Magic players discussing the changes en masse, but the financial markets are also going wild. Freshly unbanned cards like this one have seen a price spike overnight, and some a lot more than others. Another version of a unbanned card would be the Gifts Ungiven. Now that card is viable for play. Are you rushing out to go through your collection to find a copy of Braids Cabal Minion just to build that mono black deck? Well, We'll be covering the spikes in greater detail here later on the show, but the spotlight is very much on Braids today because one of the most hated commander cards in existence has finally got the unbanning and took a lot of Magic players by surprise and shock. However, it didn't take long for players waiting around as Braids Cabal minions shot up over 2,604% overnight. Let's check the chart. Braids Cabal minion. Is this true? All right, we see the gifts ungiven, the foil price. That one's up a boat. Hey, good morning, Bob. How's my audio this morning? Braids. Cabal minion. An Odyssey card? $12. All right, so the $12 price spike. This card was pennies weeks ago. Nobody wanted to play it. $1 spikes up to 14 to 22 bucks. It's its own commander. Of course, it's being played in the shell of Crick the Son of Yawgmoth and Marin the Clan Nell Tooth. So these are some cards that are now going to be coming soon to a meta near you. Thoughts and opinions on Braids making the unbanning list? Well, it's no secret. It's a controversial card, but unbanning this card over the last couple of weeks has been a bit of a controversy because his pre-game rule zero bracket conversations weren't really nearly as prevalent as they are today. This allows Braids to sneak her way into unassuming tables, blowing them up and creating an unfun experience. Oh, the unfun experience. Oh, banning cards based on their fun level. All right, nowadays Magic players are more confidently able to say what they do and do not want to play against. Some of the readers here are quickly to stress this point, especially on Facebook. Upon hearing about the unbans Wizard's Eyes, this makes unbanning Braids not nearly as bad as it could have otherwise been. All right, if I see Braids a commander, I'm leaving the table. It's not worth the hassle of dealing with it. Deal with it. Play more interaction. You got to play those 1 mana cantrips. You got to play those 1 mana removal spells. You got to play swords. You got to play path. You got to play the removal and interaction to make this go away. In case you've not played against this card before, the Cabal minion poses a real problem when ramped out early at turn 1 or turn 2. Braids completely lock opponents down. I guess a Dark Ritual and 1 other mana source. Even easier to get online. Post Mana Crypt. All right. Prevents your opponents from playing at all later in the game. However, Braids is a little more than an annoyance, as they're hardly efficient at clearing boards. Clear the board. Toughness on this. It's 2-2. It's a bear. Can you deal with it? All right. The way people deal with this is they look at the Braids and they say, I'm out of here. Now that we're on the Game Changers list, Braids is incredibly early and shouldn't be given. Playing Braids incredibly early shouldn't be a given. Ideally, by the time that Braids has hit the board, one player will at least remove her to deal with her. This is a kill on-site commander. Hopefully, this should mean that she's not much of an early game threat anymore, but that remains to be seen. For folks who don't play interaction, don't play spot removal, even a lightning bolt can deal with this, and putting it at 6 mana for the second time cast. A lot of people overlook the simple instant speed interaction that's available. So I would suggest retooling the deck to include some of that. There's no denying that Magic players are incredibly excited to play with Braids once again, in the rush of the demand and following the price spike that make abundantly clear nothing. The spike. Here's the spike. It's up to $6. All right, to say the demand for Braids Cabal minions has been explosive would be a bit of an understatement. Across the card's 3 main variants, there's been over 2,900 sales of this card in only one night. Remarkably, that's counting the near mint copies of the card sold, and unsurprisingly, it's put a massive dent in the supply across the board. However, Braids has been bought out early, and while still are copies left and available for you to purchase, you'll now be paying a 2,604% premium on most copies. This is a bit of a lesson, like cards getting unbanned. There's a bunch of cards I've speculated on being unbanned. One of them is Memory Jar, because I thought that would end up being unbanned in Legacy. We don't see a lot of changes in the Legacy list. Most of the focus is on Commander these days. I think a Legacy unbannings could use a little bit of a uptick. Speculating on cards like Gift Ungiven, who were previously banned, a cheap pickup can actually be quite profitable over the long haul, or just save yourself some frustration of trying to find these unbanned cards post unbanning, and then you may be sitting on a couple of copies. If they're cheap enough, it's something you can put into the collection, just maybe wait. Speculating on unbannings. It's a tough way to make a living. I don't know how viable it is, but there's nothing more frustrating when an unbanning announcement is comes to fruition, and there's no copies of that card to be found anywhere. So sometimes it's worth holding on to just one copy. Players now have been paying upwards of $6 for it. $6 for a Magic card, not too pretty bad. Of course, if you're sitting on it, you probably want to dust off your copy of Braids, go fish through your bulk, and try and find it. Currently on TCG Player, there's 16 near mint Eternal Masters copies of Braids, and the Minion has left available for purchase. This variant starts at $750. Current price spikes could be further along. Similar to the Modern Horizons 2 variant of Braids, it's likely going to keep on in the upcoming days. Is this a card that's going to make MTG top 8? Only time will tell. I don't think it's a tier 1 commander. It's quite possible that we could see it on the top 8. There's definitely going to be some push to see if folks can get it into the main tournaments and overtake something like the Rog Thrasios or the most popular Crom and Tymna decks. What do you folks think? Is it only going to be time to tell? We'll see if this is going to be actually a functionally viable competitive commander. Is it more of a casual card, or is this going to make CEDH? All right, stepping back for a second. Let's talk about the future, Marty. All right, Marty, get this thing up to 180 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour. Let's talk about the future. For better or for worse, there's basically no chance that this current price spike will last. But Braids the Cabal Minion is a playable card in Commander. This rush of demand will certainly can't be sustained over time. And like all the prices we see, Braids' interest will fall once new spoilers get revealed and released. Even before the Final Fantasy spoilers. Holy moly, let's talk about this. Final Fantasy. Have you seen the prices on the Final Fantasy pre-orders? Like, I think our play group were discussing the cost of the Final Fantasy set. It's up to like $700 for a collector's box. If you love that IP, this is going to be a steep price for anybody to pay. 700 US. OMG. Maybe that's Canadian. I don't even know what to think. Wake up in the morning and you see the Final Fantasy price speculations. There's no ceiling level for new sets, especially the collector edition. The Final Fantasy set is going to be released in spoilers fairly soon. And there's a good chance that Braid's price will dip somewhat when that happens. But while Commander is a massive format, with tons of players, it's impossible to forget that Braids the Arisen Cabal Minion has long been deeply unpopular due to its demand. Over time, it may be a lot lower than expected. However, that remains to be seen, and when we're doubtful that this current price spike will last or continue, we can't rule out the possibility now. If you like overpaying for Magic cards, Braids Cabal Minion might be the choice for you, or the Final Fantasy IP. You might want to sell your car to try to pick some of that up. So, all right, so if everybody's buying Braids and actually wants to play it, this price spike could genuinely last since she's hot and not prohibitively expensive. Ultimately, as always, we can't predict the future, but we can make an educated guess with regards to price speculation. There's no telling which way the markets are going to go with this one. All I can do for the time being is wait and see and watch closely. I would pay attention to MTG Top 8 to see if that Braids Cabal Minion deck actually makes its way on the top 8. All right. All right. So, with that out of the way, these are your weekly winners. Haven't even taken a sniff. Lake of the Dead pushes Braids. I'm shocked it's only $100. 4 mana. Yeah, I guess so. You can turn to the Braids. All right. I haven't even taken a sniff of this article yet. This generally we do this article on the Friday morning Magic the Gathering Stocks and Talk show, but it was a little bit delayed. I saw it come out this morning and I said, okay, well, that's give me a good opportunity to party with you folks here on a Saturday morning, get some cartoons and Brody and check out the prices of Magic cards, the trends, and what's been moving and grooving over the week. So let's have a look here. These are your weekly winners for April 25th. 2025. I haven't even taken a sniff of this article. I'm hoping that I'm going to see some interesting stuff from what I've been watching over the last little bit scratchier, little patati, but it's fine. I can tell the audio is a bit scratchier. Okay, well, we'll see the problem is when I do this live stream in the morning, it's early. And then I got like so much brain power to do troubleshooting first thing in the morning. And then you go to work and you do your job and then you come home. You're like, the last thing I want to do is spend 4 hours troubleshooting OBS. Worry about your order later. We can hear you. And it's hot. All right. Check it out. These are the weekly winners. All right, with Commander unbannings having a huge effect on prices. So what we're doing, our first winner is a little differently. I like it. Shout out to Aryan over at the stock desk for bringing this article. This is my favorite article to watch each week because I got a sneaking suspicion I want to see a certain card on this list that Brody's been speculating on for some time, and now it's finally started to see some price movement. It's made the top 8 several times, and now it's included in most Commander decks, but nevertheless, we'll see if it makes its way onto the winners. All right, we're doing things a little bit differently, so if you want to catch up with Corey Williams, you can check out his Modern Blink article, and we've recently launched a new premium feature called Set Valuation Compass, which can be found as a tab on most pages. So the Set Valuation Compass offers powerful tools for making data-driven decisions developed in collaboration with a member of MTG Stock's Discord community. The feature demonstrates how a player insights might drive the innovation of the platform. I wonder which member? I love it. All right, well, we hopefully well, let's discuss this tool before we get to the winners for this week. I'm just going to slowly roll right into this. This tool, the set evaluation tool, proves especially value during set releases when a card price is most volatile and uncertain, and can identify the market inefficiencies through advanced metrics, including velocity tracking and risk analysis by spoiling cards and selling quickly relative to their price during the crucial early release window. Collectors will gain a significant advantage before the market stabilizes, and this community-inspired feature gives members of the premium subscription the edge in navigating new set economics when timing matters most. If you want to get Magic the Gathering cards at an affordable price, this might be a site to keep an eye on if you haven't subscribed already. Talking about unbanned cards. When is Brody appearing on CC? Cardboard Community. All right, this list is going to be a little bit different than you're used to. The reason is because most of you probably don't need to tell me what your biggest winners were this past week. If you've been paying a little attention to the unbanning of the future Commander cards, you can see why cards went up. So this first winner will simply show you the price chart of 2 weeks of these unbanned cards. A little bit skewed data. So this is kind of what I want to discuss. Everything that is unbanned is now making the headlines. Just like a corduroy pillow, it's a gifts ungiven is making headlines, and this card is going to steal the spotlight from anything else that was just organically sold over the past week. So, like, if you were to say, here's your top 5 weekly winners, you're going to definitely, these unbannings are definitely newsworthy. Don't get me wrong, but they're going to push cars that would organically make some heavy sales out of the top 5 just because the sheer volume of these cards getting sold. So you might want to just dig a little. We might want to just scratch the surface a little harder to see, like, short of the unbanned cards, what else was selling organically, because that's a pretty good indication of what direction the market's going. All right, as a little recap, these following cards were unbanned, being Gift Ungiven, Sway the Stars, Braids the Cabal Minion, Coalition Victory, and Panoptic Mirror. While they're unbanned, they're tagged as Game Changers. So unbanned and Game Changers. First up, we got the Gifts Ungiven. Of course, we know this. Sway the Stars up to about $20, 15 to $20. This one's incredible. So the Sway the Stars is a 10 mana sorcery that says each player shuffles hand, graveyard, and permanents they own into the game and then draws 7 cards. We discussed this yesterday. It's a little bit of a Shahrazad effect where it effectively resets the game and gives everybody a fresh start, reducing each player's life total to 7, possibly putting players within death blow range before this thing takes effect. All right, Braids Cabal Minion, Panoptic Mirror. So these are all the unbanned cards. So this is kind of a little bit of market uncertainty. This is a tough one because wondering what the top selling cards in Magic the Gathering were post pre-banning, because these ones are going to steal the spotlight. Panoptic Mirror, Coalition Victory, all forming the number 1 unbanned card. So this is a nice way to put the article together. The most popular selling Magic cards and spiking Magic cards in price are all grouped together here. I love the way Arjun's done this article. He's probably made a special consideration to say, let's put all these unbanned cards in the number 1 slot because they're just hogging all the real estate. Number 2. All right, when it comes to these cards coming off the ban list, there's probably people for and against it. I don't play Commander to have a truly informed opinion on these unbannings, but I feel that Braids, it was time to get it off the list. Sway the Stars is a wild card and still wouldn't like playing against either one of them. 10 mana resetting the game is terrible and probably just a pretty frowned upon dragging out the game, but it's not particularly strong. The largest spike comes from the Panoptic Mirror. That's not entirely unexpected. Darksteel was released in 2004. Relatively little packs were opened in this set, and because players taking a Magic hiatus for affinity decks ruining most formats available at the time, with Panoptic Mirror having no reprints and the supply being very low. Number 2. Herd Heirloom. This one's from one of the Tarkir Dragonstorm new set. This Herd Heirloom, as well as the red one, I can't remember what it's called, get a lot of traction on the internet. If you've heard about this latest spike, this mana rock from Tarkir Dragonstorm's gone up. It's a green and 1, and it taps to add a mana of any color, which you can spend only to cast creature spells, and then you can tap it until end of turn. Target creature you control with power 4 or greater gains trample. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. All right. I absolutely understand why this card has been popular, but not only does it produce mana as long as you want to cast a creature spell, so it is a decent mana rock, viable Felwar Stone-esque type of card, but it also grants trample and card draw when the creature you're targeting with it deals combat damage. Interestingly, the card was pre-selling between 10 and $12, but it fell down to $2 during the official release date. This 2 mana rock exists in all shapes and forms. And one of the more common ones is the Mind Stone, which can be used to cast a spell, gives you colorless mana, and you can sack it to draw a card. But later in the game, card draw effect nerfs you the Mind Stone. So this Herd Heirloom could seem to be a little bit better option. But when you play green, chances are you're going to be playing creature heavy deck, so the Herd Heirloom works just well. All right, number 3 on the list, the Lost Monarch of Ifnir, up 124%. The Zombie Noble went up this past week. It has a Flick 3 and gives all your other zombies the same ability. Zombie Lords are quite popular these days. Even the card like the Death Baron is seeing about a $3 price tag on the buy list. So Zombie Tribal, once again, being popular in a sense where the cards are spiking up and people want to get them. Afflict keyword that was introduced in Hour of Devastation says that whenever a creature becomes blocked, defending player loses life equal to the afflict value. So it seems pretty good to give your zombies afflict, and the noble can even give you some card advantage with his second ability, because at the beginning of your second main phase, if a player was dealt combat damage by a zombie this turn, mill 3 cards and return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. All right, do you still remember Hashaton, the Scarab Fist? A commander that I'm currently playing. I like building with Hashaton. There's lots of interesting interactions that I've been rotating in and out of the deck to try and make use of it, including the Elspeth, the Storm Chaser or Storm Tamer, to double up the copies of cards that you get. Of course, if you can discard a card like Sphinx of the Steel Wind, playing your turn 1 or turn 2 Hashaton with a Lion's Eye Diamond, having a big fat fatty in your hands can make the game go your way. Perhaps a Sphinx of the Steel Wind, maybe a Consecrated Sphinx, or even a Thirsting Brood Lord can make the Hashaton quite powerful. But Hashaton was released just a little while back, and for 2 mana and 2.5 months ago. We haven't mentioned him on the weekly winners for about 5 weeks. So I can imagine if you're not familiar anymore, Hashaton's the reason for a lot of spikes in the zombie type. And it seems that players aren't done finding new cards to build around. The Hashaton man, T-Val the Balance Scale is a Spirit Dragon from the new Tarkir Dragonstorm. It says whenever T-Val attacks, mill 3 cards, and you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And when 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, you get the 2/2 Zombie Druid. Of course, that's in the Simic colors. It does pair nicely with Hashaton, but myself, I'm more prone to just straight up play. I guess you can't use it as Hashaton as your commander, but I'm more prone to just play a straight up Esper build. But there's another reason this card likes to move up, and that's the upgrade to Sultai Arisen from the Commander Precon Tarkir Dragonstorm, or to build around the T-Val, the Balance Scale, which can be found in this Precon. 2 creatures synergize that are pretty good. Cheap pickups. All right, the Sundown Pass, the rare land from Innistrad. This is the Buddy land. Enters tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands. The Boros land. These things are $5. All right, it's a penny stock. It's $5. It's reached a bottom, and it's starting to trend consistently. Another moving up, overlooked card is the Master of Cruelties. First strike, Death Touch. Master Cruelties can only attack alone. When the Cruelties attacks a player and isn't blocked that player, its life total becomes 1, and Master Cruelties signs no combat damage this turn. An interesting way to maybe take a little bit of control of the game. If you could poke or make it unblockable, this with a Tano's Wand or a Dwarven, what's the one? Dwarven Warriors. That can make target creature with power 2 or less unblockable until end of turn. This can set your opponent's life total to 1. It's in the Rakdos colors. You might be able to give it haste simply because it's red, and there's lots of ways to do it. But this has been identified as a penny stock, slowly trending down to $3.28. You might want to pick this up. It could be a fun Rakdos commander. Dryad of the Elysian Grove, a card I'm very fond of. In the Omnath deck that I'm playing, there's always ways to make an extra land drop, making it an extra Souza. This one lets you play lands on each of your turns. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. I think this one, people are sleeping on it because the Dryad of the Elysian Grove might work well with the Coalition Victory. You win the game if you control a land of each basic type and a creature of each color. So the Dryad of the Elysian Grove could pair well with the recently unbanned Coalition Victory, fixing your lands so that you don't need the 5 different lands. You can just have one land that counts as every land type. So a choice card, if you're going to try and put the Coalition Victory in your deck, maybe consider picking up a copy of the Dryad of Elysian Grove. It's $6.56, has been trending down. Arjun, thanks for another great article from the stock desk. Been playing Magic since Ice Age release, and his primary plays Legacy, founded MTG Stocks over a decade ago, and his friends just wanted to track card prices to purchase singles at optimal time. Don't we all want to purchase singles at premium prices? Of course we do. Your weekly winners this week. There's a couple of cards that I thought might make the cut, but didn't appear here on this week's list. I'm unfortunately going to have to go back to the all list because there was a couple of unassuming entrants to the winners this week. Interesting enough, this is your Saturday morning. I hope whatever you folks are up to. Hope you guys enjoy a little bit of Saturday morning cartoons. Get yourself some breakfast. Got a little bit of shop to maintain over the weekend. Perhaps put a load of laundry in and get on with things. Get ready for next week. Does premium price mean more expensive price? I mean, it's an appropriate price. I think Arjun built the website so that him and his friends had a way of tracking Magic the Gathering cards, so they could pick them up at a premium price rather than like the overpriced price. All right, Scrubland. Let's take a look at the all list for this week. Wham bam shabam. We got Scrubland, Volk Island, Ancient Tomb at the top of the list. This one here, is this $200 for the OG Ancient Tomb from Tempest? Wow, up 72%. I don't know how that even correlates. Demonic Hordes, Pirate Ship. If you say it with 2 fingers in a pirate ship, it really makes it sound really good. Grim Monolith, Elephant Graveyard. That's a decent reserve list card from Arabian Nights. It really is. I have like 20 tombs. Wow. Tombs on tombs. Homes on homes and homes on homes and toms on tombs. The Anka Mishra, this is a card that you say it while you're holding your tongue, eh? The Anka Mishra, yeah, you pirate ship. You got to say it while holding your tongue. You're a real pirate ship. Anka Mishra, the card that punishes each player for losing a land. I've tried to figure out, no, playing a land. I think it's playing a land. Anyone who puts a new land into play, Ankh deals 2 damage. This thing could be some sideboard tech against perhaps like the Gitrog, Thalia Gitrog deck if they're playing multiple lands a turn. I don't know. I'm going to have to try and decide whether or not that's an include. The Dingus Egg is 4 mana. This one's 2. The Dingus Egg deals 2 for destroying a land, and this one deals 2 for playing a land. It might be a viable way to play in a land destruction deck, perhaps, if you're running the Armag spot. Armageddon. A card that nobody likes to play, especially an unfun card. I don't like a lot of the complaints about cards that are unfun. Good morning, Brody. Alfonso Nation. Thanks for joining us. Coach is here. All right, on the weekend. Piracy. This turn you may tap lands you don't control to help pay for your spells. What a cool card. I think I need this. Piracy. All right, pirates. There are pirates in our midst. That's a good card. I think I might want to try and pick this up. To this turn, you may tap lands you don't control to help pay for your spells. Now, can your opponents tap out their lands in response to you casting this? I think there might be just something overshadowed. I like that card. Yeah, I think this isn't as good. Like Mana Short might be better. Let's take a look at Mana Short because Mana Short says tap all lands target player controls, that player loses all unspent mana. So if they tap their lands in response to casting Mana Short, they still lose all that mana. With the piracy card, I don't know because it's sorcery speed if folks can tap their lands. Drain power, that's the one. Drain Pajwa, much better choice. Drain Pajwa. That's what we're talking about. This is the one. Target player activates all mana from each land they control. That player loses all unspent mana, and you add them to the mana lost this way. Not a game changer, mind you. So this has got the half of mana drain on it. The only thing it does do is counter target spell. This thing can really buff up your mana production. If you're playing against a green player or a ramp player, somebody who's put lots of lands on the battlefield, perhaps a Gaia's Cradle or something, this thing can suck your opponent's mana dry and then put it into your pool, making your pool so Olympic-sized rather than just one of those inflatable kiddie pools. You can get yourself an Olympic-sized mana pool rather than an inflatable kiddie mana pool. Drain Power, decent card. I think this is probably better than the Piracy card. You're going to have to check the errata on this one to see if your opponents can tap their lands in response just to avoid you getting ye old mana slurp. Grim Tutor, also at the top of the list. Underground Sea, Volk Island, of course, all the dual lands. Mox Diamond, this card's probably going to head over to $1,000. Cards made relevant by removal of mana burn. I gotcha. It's made irrelevant by removal of mana burn. So the piracy card would be a lot better if we're playing with burn. Jandor's Ring, Steel Artifact, and the steel cards all pretty showing up on the list. Rofalos, here's another card that I was expecting. I speculated on the Rofalos. I have one copy of the Rofalos just for the reserve list collection. Here's a card that's not allowed in Commander. Of course, it is legendary. It's a 2/1. It's double green, so if you want to play green, mono green in your Commander theme, this one adds a green mana to your mana pool for each forest you control. Perhaps it's too overpowered, but like in today's day and age, if we're unbanning Braid's Cabal minion, why can't we have Rofalos? If this card ever sees an unbanning, it's going to go nuts. And of course, like I feel there's a bit of a bias with the Commander rules committee towards green because like all the tutors are banned or considered game changers except for like the Court of Calling is okay. Green Sun's out. There's a lot of green tutor cards that are allowed where other colors cannot. The Urza's Destiny foil, what are we looking at this? $400 for one copy of Rofalos. It may see an unbanning one day. Dual Commander, 1v1 Commander. I still have 4 copies of Rofalos open back in 99 and 2000. They can. All the cards like that are OP. Can just tap out. All right, so the Rofalos, here's a decent spec. If you haven't got anywhere to put your tax return, maybe this is a place to do it. Rofalos, you might be waiting, don't hold your breath, you might be waiting on bated breath in a long time to see this thing get unbanned. But in this day and age, there's a few cards that I think could probably use an unbanning, this being one of them, perhaps the Primeval Titan. And in the Legacy unbanning would probably be this card. I don't see why Memory Jar is still banned in Legacy. 5 mana, yes, it's a reanimate target. Yes, it draws you 7 cards, but there's a lot of other card draw spells out there that seem just fine and fair, where the Memory Jar has kind of been sitting on the shelf and nobody cares about the Memory Jar. It's been lost under a ban a long time ago. There's arguably better Tinker targets, better Welder targets in this day and age when we have cards like Bolas Citadel, and that's legal. The Memory Jar could probably use an unbanning and it would just be fine. I still have my 8 copies of the jar. All right, peanut butter and jelly coming straight out the jar this morning. Script, Ancient Tomb, Archaeologist, Overwhelming Forces, Glasses of Urza, and a card that I just really... Memory Jar is not banned in Commander. I know, it's only banned in Legacy. That's what I mean. There hasn't been a lot of Legacy activity on the banned and restricted list. The Legacy, Memory Jar is fine in Commander. That's what I'm saying. If it's fine in Commander, why can't it be played in Legacy? If we ever saw a Legacy unbanning, I think we would see a price spike. on ye old jar. A card that I thought we would see on the movers and the shakers list this week or the weekly winners is the Candelabra. Of course, one of my favorites. I like checking the price of this card. I saw this card recently. I vendored a couple of these just to get some trade in value. This card's been price ticking up for quite a while. It was sitting at about $600 just about 2 years ago, and now it's at $12.75 on the mean on TCG Player. Hard to find, not a lot of copies available. The Card Kingdom store sold out, face to face sold out. TCG Player's got 2 copies available. And why does this card keep seeing some action? Well, I'll tell you why. Because if you want to see what's going to be happening in the financial markets of Magic the Gathering, keep an eye over at MTG Top 8, where you can look at the top 8 decks or the deck lists that are making tournament wins and the ranking of them. Candelabra Thanos has been putting up steady top 8 finishes with the Rog Thrasios deck, including taking the first place win on April 20th, 2025 at the Heisenberg Redemption Expo in New Mexico in Albuquerque. A little bit of a refresh here. The Candelabra is going to continue to see play. It's also making top 8 at the Oahu Commander Invitational Qualifier season and a 1K tournament in Raven Forge, making the top 8. So this card, copies live at the Brody Vault. That's right. I like to find those reserve list cards that nobody likes, nobody cares about. All right. Let's look at the visual spoiler on here. Attracts of the Grand Unifier taking the win. It's concluding the Thassa's Oracle combo. But the Rog Thrasios deck, that's the one we're going to talk about, it becomes very, very popular these days because we've got cards like the Gaia's Cradle and even the Ancient Tomb. Now people are even starting to play cards like the Workshop in this deck in artifact heavy meta, but it's mainly because you can untap a legendary permanent with the Minamo School of Water's Edge, and then use the Candelabra again to untap Minamo and get multiple activations out of your legendary permanent. Legendary permanents of choice, it could be the One Ring. What else have we got in here that's legendary? There it is there. All right, infinite combos, including the Basalt Monolith, the One Ring, and plenty of legendary permanents. So if you want multiple One Ring activations, Minamo School at Water's Edge along with the Candelabra can do it for you. You can even untap your Gaia's Cradle, making you a boatload of mana, so that seems pretty good. It's going to be a little bit of time. Dustin Colorhall, nice to see you, buddy. LMAFAO. Already have enough. Artifacts already have enough. With Piracy, opponents get a chance to tap out drain power. They can tap out, but you still get their mana. Tolarian Academy needs unbanned. I thought they said they weren't going to do it. Can't do it, won't do it, ain't going to do it. They don't want to. Nice to see you, Dustin. I hope you're having a good weekend. I'm just going to get ready to head out for the day. I want to say thanks for all you folks for tuning in. Gaming Bob Millmaster, the coach. I'm going to run here. We got a little bit of work to do, things to take care of over the weekend. Yeah, Brody's working for the weekend. I'm going to head out. So, love ya. We'll talk to you real soon. Let's get a little bit of outro music.